I have people who are gay who I consider to be family, and I have family members who are gay. So I'm half Jewish, guys. All right. My mother was a practicing Jew at the time of my death. I'm also part Cherokee Indian. I was the white kid with a rich grandpa who talked funny because I was deaf in one ear. Well, let me make something clear. I am actually documented to be part Native American, so I'm not hating Native American. I've got Latino members in my family. I even had an aunt of mine many years ago who was morbidly obese say, she said to myself and another aunt of mine who actually competes in powerlifting. People have found them of me pressing charges against my aunt and uncle. My father had been a Green Beret. My father is pretty much a sociopath. I still love him, but it's the truth. Even my sister would admit the same. He's a self-made millionaire now, self-made multi-millionaire. Now, granted, he doesn't give anybody any of his money. He doesn't even have me in his will. My dad is a very interesting person, and he really went through a lot of trouble to make me tougher and harder and for me to basically be a killer. He never taught me anything about how to be a man, never taught me any life lessons. He did teach me how to work on race cars. He never told me he loved me, never gave me a hug, never once in my life told me he was proud of me. When I asked my father about some of this later as an adult, his response was, I provided for you growing up. I taught you how to be a survivor, a warrior, and a fucking killer. What more does a man need in life? That's everything you need to know. But my dad is really probably the scariest person I know. My dad was a Green Beret at Vietnam. He later worked for, and I'm not going to say what agency, he later worked for the intelligence community. This is stuff that people can pull up on background checks, and people have done background checks on my dad related because of all the lawsuits and shit I've been through. And then my dad has worked in upper management for Cameron International, and he now owns his own company in the hydrogen and natural gas industry. And my father had his own views of what he thought I should do with my career. So my father trained me to do a lot of things at a young age, and a lot of that led to a lot of the other stuff I don't talk about. My father got me involved in those things whether I wanted to or not, which ended up with me doing some contract work later as an adult. But my father also was the type who he threw me in a swimming pool in the deep end of a pool and screamed, sink or swim. I had a grandfather who fought at D-Day. He came over here through England, stormed the shores of Normandy, fought at D-Day. My father's father was the children of Czechoslovakian immigrants. He was a father of 7 children. He ran a farm, he ran a ranch, raised free-range cattle, worked at a factory on top of that, had a big cornfield, so he grew corn, but he was also involved in illicit business and things in order to make sure that he had enough for his family to get by and to continue to expand their empire. The guy made moonshine with his corn. He grew marijuana in a little back corner of his cornfield that some of us kind of knew about. He didn't talk about it much. He didn't even smoke it, but he grew it and sold it back there because he had the land to do so. Every one of my family members from both sides of my family, all the men from that generation, were World War II survivors. Every single one of them. All of my great uncles, both of my grandfathers, and I remember hearing the stories from these men, including Uncle Hardy, who was a Pearl Harbor survivor. My grandfather was a very generous man. He was a very good man. He was noted for being a philanthropist and giving to charities and, being a world traveler and a businessman. And, he was noted for those things. Because I had one grandfather who was in the Navy fighting against the Japanese during World War II, and my other grandfather was at D-Day. As an American, he was stationed in England and came across in the offensive, and he survived D-Day and watched his brothers get blown apart on the beach. He never talked about it because of the PTSD. He never once told a story about it. But he saw it. He was there. He fought all the way to the end and helped liberate the camps at the end, all the way in Germany and the mainland. To call my multi-millionaire ex-Special Forces father and talk about mercenary work, that's some ballsy shit. Which, by the way, he has all your details now. What's my last name? Blaha? You know many Blaha'S? Know my family? Any of them? Well, you probably don't want to reach your hand too far into a Blaha'S pocket, because if you do, you might draw back a stump. Every family has that one dumbass. That one dumbass who can't stay out of trouble, who can't avoid causing problems or get in trouble.